Hello everyone, so my name is Tina, I'm from Indonesia, and I've been designing for, if you count for my university years, I've been designing for 9 years, and I technically pivoted to UI UX for the last 2 years. So before I was an interior designer, and yeah, as you can see, like from, maybe like if you notice, like from the poster, even like the picture here, and then me right now, I'm a certified hair color shifter, so I always change my hair. I really like to experiment. So yeah, I'm also like quite active in going to meetups. So in case like you will meet me somewhere else, like try to not remember me by the color of my hair, because like it will change. It eventually will change. So yeah, you can go to David.
Yeah, say hi to David. I'm
Hi,
David.
Hi, David.
I'm originally from the Philippines, and I'm in my 30s right now. Some might call me a boomer, but that's okay. I've been coding for around 10 years. Half of it are mostly front-end development, and I even have experience supporting Internet Explorer 7, and those were challenging times. Just recently, I became the head of software solution division at Tokyo Techies, but I'm still a junior in this role though. In Tokyo Techies, I wear many hats. I manage the whole software solution division, lead the development team in specific projects, even get my hands dirty doing full stack development, front end, back end, mobile development, and even DevOps. And yeah, lastly, I also mentor newly hired engineers to get them up to speed. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, let's continue then. So here we're going to explain like what is the process between designers and developers, and like how we are working together in TT at least. So we have like 7 steps. Usually like first is kickoff meeting, the second is research, and then technical confirmation. After that we have the handoff preparation, and then handing it off to the developer, and actually the development phase, and then the last is quality assurance. So for each, so first is the kickoff meeting. So what happened in a kickoff meeting? So usually what happened is we're having the brief of what is the project gonna be like, and then we're doing some alignment between both designers and developers. So what we have here, like as a designer, usually what we do is first like we get to know the developers, especially because in TT we have like several projects that are moving at the same time, and different projects have different teams, different people. So yeah, sometimes like we might meet like someone for the first time, and then we need to like work with them at that time. And the second is we try to understand the client requirements based on like what's given to us by the client, or even like what are the other points that are given from the PM. And also we confirm the project timeline, and we decide, and then we estimate the effort based on the timeline to the whole project itself. And for the developers, what you do?
Yeah, as Tina mentioned, this is where we break the ice. We say hi to designer, even let them know that we're not scared people. We're actually an angel. In this case, we also understand the technical perspective of the information, and also including the specification, core functionalities, and features of the project. Also, this is where we start to identify potential bottlenecks that we might encounter as the project moves on.
Yep. So yeah, so we have like on tips like it's basically like, yeah, just be relaxed and say hi to everyone. Just let the whole team knows that you are someone that, hey, I want to work with you, so you can like ask me anything. So yeah, we can see here like, yeah, there's like, it's like a top secret thing that we're working on, but like basically like just say hi and smile to everyone to let everyone know that, yeah, we're both friendly people who want to work together.
Yeah, and I guess like having like the comfortability, it will establish at the very start like the trust, and also it will eventually lead to strong teamwork as the project goes on.
So like another tip is, yeah, it's possible when there are like already like some information regarding the project. So try to learn as much as possible regarding the project beforehand. So when we are going to the kickoff meeting, you can have like a question that will eventually like help everyone. Like already have like something that you can think of. Do you have anything you want to add here? Okay.
You can skip.
Okay, yeah, and the second is like we are doing the research. So what we are doing here is mostly like, it's both like in designers and the developer, but what we're mostly doing is like we're trying to understand the user and then aligning it with the business goal that the client have. So in the designer side, so first is we need to decide the research method because as I said before, like the Edge project have different timelines, so please make sure to decide the research method that fits the timeline because not everything can be done in every project. And then second, like do the research when you already decide like what is the method that you want to do, just do the research. And then the third, based on the research itself, we usually create like some user flow so we can have like some some images like on how the product is going to be, like what are the experiences, and then what we might need to confirm with the developers. And then the last one is really important because at least like in TT, what happened is most of the time, people who can get like the direct insights, like directly talking to customer, directly talking to the user, are the designers. So we need to share the insights to the developer and the clients because like in order to make a good product, we need to know who are the user, who are the target market of the product itself. If we don't know the target market, then it's gonna be like, what are we making this for? So like in order to share that feeling, not really feeling, like that fact with the developer, so they know like when they're creating like something, oh, this is why we're creating something. So it's really good to share the insight with us and the client.
Yeah, and for developers, we start exploring what are the styling framework or tools that we could use that might suit with the project. Example of this, like looking for Bootstrap, Hero UI, Shadcn, Tailwind, and any other like libraries. Then alternatively, in Tokyo Techies, to further speed up the process, we also consider reusing existing tools that we use in the past project as well. And one other thing that developers do in this phase is to identify potential issues as the project progresses and then give a heads up to the designer so that they will be ready whenever we encounter it.
So yeah, some tips that I have here for the designer especially, always, as I mentioned before, always adjust the research method to timeline. How much time do we have? What is feasible? What is not feasible? Even though like sometimes like we kind of strongly feel like, hey, we need some, like for example, like user interview. But especially like in TT, we're doing B2B projects, and sometimes like in order to ask like B2B clients, it's quite difficult, especially in Japan. There's like a lot of approval process that may took like, took forever, and then it will not be able to be like feasible in the timeline. So make sure that what you're trying to do is what's feasible for the timeline. And the second is like, always share all the insight with team members so everyone have like more context of what the user are like.
Yeah, another tip for me as well, when evaluating a framework or libraries, always consider like how big the community is, because having lots of people using the same tool is helpful, especially in Cleverset project that Alicia mentioned earlier. When we encounter a tough or hard problem in that project, there's a high chance that we will be able to find those same problem in the internet very easily, and people already have answer for it as well. That's why this having like this big community will quickly unblock you from those issues, and that's why it's for me it's important to have like this criteria.
Okay, so the third is we have like the technical confirmation. So here we are trying to align between designers and developer of what is the experience that the designer imagined, and then what is feasible, what is feasibly we can do on technical side. So, sorry. So for the designer POV, first we already have like the framework and the library that the developer give us the information. So we need to confirm it again. Like what is the meaning of confirming? So we check it, we check the library and see what are feasible, And then, so just in case like we have like other experience that we have, like, oh, we want to have like these type of tables. We want to have like this type of transition. We try to see like from the library first, like whether like, oh, is it like possible that we can combine like maybe like component A and component B into the same time? And then and then for the second one is we try to come from like the specific experience itself, what we have in mind, and always give clear references. Why? Because like if you try to imagine a cloud, what I imagine and what you are imagining right now, the cloud will be like really different. So in order to do that, giving like very clear references, like for example, like CodePen, or for like Dribble, or for like other libraries that you have, like giving that the visual context, it will be like the best in order to like make sure like everyone knows like, oh, this is the same thing, and like matching the expectation. And then the last one, that what I feel is quite good for the technical confirmation is also like onboarding the developers to Figma. The reason is also already, as already mentioned before, like in Tokyo Techies we have like a lot of developers, and then sometimes like different developers in different projects. So there are times also people are not really know like, oh, what is the Figma file will be looks like. So what we do here is like we onboard them to Figma and then explain, hey, these items are going to be here. Like for example, oh, these are the WIP page. Don't go here. If you want to look like for the latest, you go to this like already like ready to develop, and these are the pro review. So making sure like it's already like be communicated from the first place is gonna be like make the quality of life of developer much easier, and yours too. So why so hard?
Yeah, and during this phase, we developers share the potential tools that we research the previous phase with the designer, and also our developers will start assessing or validating what designer's idea is. And then if it's necessary, we also provide them references, other approaches that we could go for. And then, yeah.
Okay. So so this is like one of the tips for the designer. So more references is always the better. So just like that what I mentioned before, like if I imagine a cloud right now, the cloud that you're imagining here like will be different. Like if I imagine like orange cat right now, the orange cat like you're gonna be like different orange cat from the internet. So yeah, always like use images, CodePen, etc. to make sure like the devs knows what the designers are envisioning. So for example, here like we have like one of the project we are using like Setiamurwati, but like I want to have like a very specific tables, and then wonder like, oh, whether can it be done, and then in order to do that, just put like some references image, and it will be like much easier for the developer to know like, is it possible or is it not?
For me as a tip, well, developers can sometimes be geeky or technical, or use technical jargon when communicating with other non-techy people, and they don't even notice it with that other party doesn't understand what they're saying. So if you're a developer, please be very careful with this and try to make your words simple and easily be understood by, I guess, as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I have two examples here. Let's compare these two. So the first one is where you use like technical jargon. This feature will need to be optimized in the backend API in order for the JSON data to render fast.
I don't understand.
For the second one, let's make sure the most important information is loaded quickly so that our user can see it right away.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, and even Drake likes it as well.
So the fourth is handoff preparation. So what we do here, we in this process, usually we already have like the design flow approved by the clients, and then we're preparing it to have like the developer able to develop it. So we're communicating like, oh, what are like the technical decision, or what are the business decision that the design have to give like more context to the developer. Here, like in POV, like we usually like add like, I think like everyone add it, but like we add developer notes to explain the design further, And it's not only like, like, oh, like this feature can do this, but also we also explain like, hey, this is the reason why the design is like this, because there's like a business decision here. But not every business decision will be written, but like only what you think that is going to be like, important enough for the developer. And then the second is like, we have other specs, right? Usually like in other documents. So having it bundled inside of the design, like linking it, for example, will be like really beneficial for the developer. So while they're like in the design, like they don't need to like, oh, reopen the documents again and then try to look like, oh, where's like the specification again? I forgot. They just like need to click the link and then everything is done.
Yeah, and for developers, this is where we start initializing the code base, preparing the whatever is needed for the development phase. And then from time to time, our developers also quick scan over the Figma design and at least review what the designer's progress is. I mean, before even like having like handoff meeting. And while our developers is checking the design, this is where also we list down and compile all the questions and then take a note of it. And then once the handoff meeting goes on, then that's where we ask all the questions in one go.
Yes, so tips for the designers, I think this is really important, is when you're writing a dev note, write as if you're writing for someone with zero context of the project. Why? Because like if you're writing like, oh, they already know this, then you will write less, and then you will eventually like, have like a lot of things missing, and you need, freak it, like you need to like explain things a lot and again to the developer. Like the most ideal is when you pass the design, then the developer can just read it and just like, cool, I can develop it. That's the most ideal. So for example, here like we have like the SRS here. Like the SRS like is a specification, so give it there. And also like when making the design, it's much easier for the developer to see the whole flow as its own, like not in the the prototype mode. So it's also important. And so the other example is like right there, like that one is like doing this text editor, but make sure like the dev note is really really in detail, like, oh, what are the rules for the text editor? What is like feasible there, and if that, what are the like components that you want to put there.
And another tip for me as well, when having like a Q&A meeting, if you could provide a visual aid or at least a written format, please do so. Because some people understand the context by reading it instead of just hearing it. And this will also solve language barrier in case you're working with different kind of ethnicity or other people from other countries. So yeah, we have here an example of our notes in Cleversuit.
So the fifth step is we are doing the handoff to the developer. So here we're trying to already create the design, we already create the dev notes, and then we're passing it to the developer like, hey, this is the design that you need to develop now. So for designers, first, there's like a lot of ways you can do like to hand off your design. First is like if the design is quite simple, you can just like simply send some Figma link and then make sure to always add the context of the design fields, like hey, this is for a feature and it's gonna be like entails to A, B, C, D, I think. And if the if the flow is quite complicated, for example, like, oh, you're doing like an approval flow or something like that, have a session and then walk through the developer through the design, like, okay, we're starting from this screen, and then when you're going to this screen, it's going to be like clicking here, it's going to have here, and then having like the possibility of the flow is going to A, B, C, like having it like really laid out really helps the developer in order to understand like, oh, what is the feature, what is the design itself. And then yeah, have the Q&A session. It not only like inside of the in the meeting itself, like even like in Slack, you can just like, hey, when the developer have like some question, just like just answer it.
Yes, and for developer, in here we expect most of the design is already finished. And at this time as well, we ask our designer where we could get the assets, style guides, and also just let them walk through us with their design. And lastly, this is where we clarify all the our questions or share whatever alternative approach or comment about like what are the things to be improved
Yes.
on the design as well. So yeah.
So for the tips itself, like you always, I think like it's important for designers, like you already know, like explain the reasoning of the design, because like most of the time, like UI UX, especially B2B, like you need like a lot of reason, and also like most of it are like business adjacent reason to, you know, why the design are like that. So when you're doing the Q&A, explain like why it's supposed to be like that. And then the second is like, if there are like some concern from the developer, don't just like, you're a developer, you don't understand design, don't do that. There's like reasons why developer have those concerns. So understand that and then address the concern itself. Like, yeah, all of us are not superior, so like we're all in one team. So address the concern. Like for example, like in there, like there are like some things that are missing, like in the right that one, like there are like some states that are missing, and the developer realized that, which is really great. Like he's doing a good job, so there's like okay, thank you, and I'll just add like the other states to the design later.
Yeah, I guess whenever we have a meeting, just always have like a meeting notes and about like the conclusion on what's happened in that meeting, and then also have like the next action written as well, so that whenever someone forgets, you could just refer it to these notes.
Yeah, documentation is always great.
And then for the 6 phases, this is a development process where developers bring the design into life. And yeah, after our designers hand over the design to the developer starts translating those designs into code, and still continue communicating with designer in case we need some clarification, and also there might be unforeseen issue that we only found whenever we code it in actual. So whenever this happens, we ask the designer to at least consider revising the design a little bit or modify, or even like to make their life easier, we suggest like multiple approaches like A, B, C. Which one do you want? Yeah.
And so, like from the designer POV, like we support the dev when they have any question, because there are like as David said, like there are some like maybe like unforeseen issues that just like come out when they start coding. And then the second is like revise the design as needed. Mostly is related to technical feasibility. Like there are times like when the design in Figma and then the implementation, like in the end, like the one in implementation doesn't really look that good. So try to, you know, make way with that.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, if you encounter or need some changes in other party, always suggest something instead of just leaving it the brain power to that. And not only for developer, but also for designer to do that as well. So in this way, you will make life easier for both parties, and also help resolve the issue quickly. And it will also encourage good collaboration between designer and developer.
So, okay, last one.
Yeah, the last one is quality assurance, where we align the designer's expectation with what the developer implemented. So in this phase, after our developer translated the design into code, we ask designer to actually check the actual output and see if this within their expectations. And designer give us feedback, and then developer complies with those feedbacks, and then also ask the designer to check again, having like this feedback loop until the quality is like good quality.
Nice. So for designers, it's like, yeah, first we review the implementation that are created by the developer, and then again, I think like a designer's job is always like to reiterate. We don't love revising, but that's what we do. So we reiterate the design again, so it looks good. It looks like the best in the implementation.
Yeah, so tips here is if you're a developer and you have like capacity to provide a preview environment to the designer so that they could check the actual output in their own PC, please do so. In Tokyo Techies, this is how we do it. Like, for example, here we have our engineer Leo asking Tina to check the preview environment. So Tina clicked that link, and then Tina, after checking it, he provided a feedback to Leo. Leo complies with it and then asks Tina again to check. And then Tina confirmed that it already looks nice, and she says like LGTM, which basically just looks good to me.
So yeah, and for designers, like I know it can be very nitpicky, especially like like sometimes like with the spacing and everything else. But it's okay nitpicky for the user's sake. But always think about the constraint. Like, is it like a nitpick that can be like easily fixed, or will it like maybe like took like so many hours, and then it will become a blocker to the whole project. So yeah, choose your battles where to be nitpick. So yeah, that concludes our process. So first, yeah, we have like the kickoff meeting where we align with the, with all of with the definition of like what is the project, and then we try to see like what is feasible. And then second, we try to understand it more by having the research, both like from design and then developer perspective. And then third, after we're having like, oh, these are the things that we want to make, we confirm it in the technical confirmation session. And then after that, like between 3 and 4, there's like the designing process where we also have like the design to be approved by the clients. And we do the handoff preparation, creating dev notes, and then all other notes that will be helpful to the developer. And then after we prepare the handoff, we give the handoff to the developer, not only handing off, but also answering the question and answering like the concerns that the developer have. After that, we have the development process. And on the last one, we have like the quality assurance where we're trying to create like the best thing that we have, and then we ended up with a quality product.
Good quality product.
Yes, good quality. There's a lot of quality there. So to conclude, like as corny as it is, but indeed like in everything in life, like even our relationship, like with your loved one, with your friends, and even in work, like communication is key. Like because like yeah, in order to build like something good, you will need to be able to communicate nicely with the other party, like having the ability to convey like what you want, and then to understand what the others want. So in the end, like to conclude this, communication is key.
And yeah, and just to add with what Tina said, I guess the more context you provide when communicating a request, ideas, or issue, the better each party will understand what you want to convey. And this will also save time to ensure everyone is on the same page. And then another thing is the feedback loop is also the same. It improves communication and collaboration between developers and designers, and everyone is kept informed of the progress, challenges, and then leading to more cohesive and efficient workflow.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, that concludes like our presentation of how we think like a good collaboration between designers and developer looks like. So I hope like it will help you guys, like designers and developer here, or even like other position, in order to like make the good project. So yeah, thank you, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Brought up an amazing point about like context as well, and just providing as much as visuals. And I'd like to throw that question back into David. That's my second question. This is all really related with information too, right, Dave? Especially when you're developing. And I was just wondering as well, especially from your perspective, what kind of information from designers do you find the most helpful? Especially, when you're looking into design intent or even functionalities. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
I think many of those information came from client meetings, talking about what's like this desired functionality, what are like the goals of the project, and I think for developer one thing that's very helpful for us is just sharing those notes to us.
Oh, the dev
Whenever,
notes.
yeah, I say like that. No,
The
more like
insights.
a meeting
The
notes, I
insight
guess,
notes.
Oh, that's awesome.
from those meetings. So, yeah, but having providing those meeting notes to us is, I think, very helpful.
I think like I have like other like tips like for the designers to do that as well, because like if you provide like every note, like sometimes like it tends to get very long, so maybe you can have like a matome. Like what's it in English?
Kind of summary.
Like a summary. So like okay, so for the developers, these are the very important items, because like if you don't do that, like sometimes like people tend to put so much time in reading a lot of things.
I see. It's also a great point as well, especially having like summarized like conclusions or even
Yes,
like, takeaways
conclusions.
as well, right?
Yeah,
So-
and even like recorded meetings as well. It's helpful.
Oh, yeah.
If you there's some people who likes to get into details. So
Yeah,
Mm.
it's a great point.
yeah.
That's also interesting as well, especially now that there's a balance between an abundance amount of information and also the lack of it, right? So we're trying to nail the
Yeah.
middle here. And yeah, I just also want to go back into asking just my next question to Tina, especially we're moving away a bit more beyond information here, more about feasibility, so that's also something that was a big part into your presentation to here as well. And as a designer, you're always balancing between what is visually possible, or like
Visually beautiful.
visually beautiful. Thank you for correcting me. Clearly, I'm not a designer, so I definitely got that wrong. Or the other one is technical feasibility as well, right? So how do you manage between that? How do you manage that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think like it all depends on the goal of the design, because what we are doing in Tokyo Techies, we are doing like product / UI UX on B2B products, and mostly what the goal of the design is like. You have like some tasks that the user want to do, and then you need to bring user from point A to point B successfully without any stress. So if we see on that context, like the technical feasibility doesn't really like put that much constraint usually. Like in the, for example, like we want to have like the visuals to be like very specific like this. No, because we still have a lot of playground for design. For example, from like there's a lot of design aspect like lines, dots, shapes, colors, font. Well, font not really, because like we're having the accessibility part. Sorry for that, but yeah. So in the end, like we're trying to find like a good balance of what is feasible and then what is beautiful, right? And then I think like the goal of the UI UX itself is not really into having like something that's aesthetically really beautiful, but it's something to have like it's aesthetically nice to will bring the good experience in order to for the user to go from point A to point B.
That's also a great point. Yeah, thank you for that. And I guess I want to throw another question to David as well, especially when you're the one navigating between what's beautiful and also feasibility as well. And how do you communicate, regarding technical feasibility to a designer in this case?
It's, I guess for that one, we developers sometimes identify the issue based on our past experience, and in order for us to tell that to the designer, I think the easiest way was just to give those references to designers, like also explain to them like in this past project we encountered this issue, and I guess it's most likely gonna happen as well in this project, so let's be careful with that. And then and sometimes even we search in the internet, whatever we just search as it is, we just give those links and then
Yeah.
ask the
so-
designer to also
Yeah.
check the those articles.
That's also a good reference point as well, actually. So you're not, I think especially when you mentioned earlier about the developer libraries earlier in your presentation. So the internet is a good resource for that. And yeah, I think I've asked like a pretty great array of questions here, and I want to wrap it up with my last concluding one to the both of you. When we're looking back into all the questions I asked earlier and also the presentation, do you have any last minute tips here for the designers and developers in the audience? That's off the presentation. So anyone who first?
Okay. So I think like the last point that I want to bring to everyone is always try to appreciate your teammates, because like oftentimes when the project runs really fast, you kind of like, hey, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that, and you forget to appreciate like all the work that really happens there. So oftentimes like, yeah, it becomes like, it doesn't really become like a very friendly situation. So try to appreciate like, hey, you're doing a good job. You're doing great. Thank you for helping me with that. Like it really helps like to build like the teamwork and also like the feeling of becoming a team itself. So yeah, I think like that should be like a good one for the